Okay, so maybe to quote some successful companies for each of these, though, would that be like Calendly?
Yeah, mice, you're probably looking at a Calendly, like a Spotify in the B2C would be their consumer oriented or highly PLG companies are getting about $10 per month from their average user.
Okay, then $100 a month. If you're in B2C, $100 a month is meaningful to somebody.
This is one that it's hard to think of like big public companies that are getting $100 a month as an average revenue per customer. Can you think of many that would fall in this bucket?
I mean, if you own a bunch of domains, I would say like GoDaddy, but that's just me because I have a problem collecting domains.
I was thinking maybe more like Bill.com. I have no idea what their average revenue per customer is, but that's like the kind of company that came to mind. Or maybe a Wix.
Ooh, yeah, maybe like a Wix or something like that. I mean, Anthropic, $100 a month on the consumer side, but they're more of an enterprise.
You're looking at like very small business focused products here.
Yeah, even Monday or Airtable, it's $25 per person per month. So it's something more than that, but like less than in the next bucket, like $10,000 to $12,000 a year. I was thinking of like Carta or a cap table tool.
So the next bucket, the deer, and this is average revenue per customer, right? Not average revenue per user, but at the average revenue per customer per account level, HubSpot is like a perfect example of deer hunting. I looked at their latest earnings call, and they're almost exactly like 10,000 per year for an average customer.
And this is the range where it starts to make sense to bring in a high velocity sales force.
You're not paying your sales team like crazy amounts of money, but you're probably trying to do self-serve on the low end for routine transactions, and inside sales motion for your average customer. Maybe you have some larger customers that you have more of an enterprise motion for. You can pay sales comp. You can pay for partner commissions. So HubSpot has a big like agency and partner program. You're not really paying a meaningful dollar amount to your partners if you have a deal size smaller than this. It starts like allowing you to actually invest in sales and marketing.
Should we assume, Kyle, that retention increases as you go up this?
Well, and I have data on this exactly. But the assumption, right, would be, yeah, that probably having stickier customers, more retention as you go up, but you also have longer sales cycles, lower win rates, a lot more investment required in sales and marketing, probably more product to build. So when you go from like the bottom right, the fly or the mouse hunting up to elephant, you're just building a fundamentally different business.
All right, and then an example of elephant.
So I haven't looked at exact figures. My guess would be a Salesforce would be pretty squarely in this category. I think a lot of the publicly traded software companies are probably in the elephant category.
Many publicly traded software companies, Kyle, have stopped disclosing their total customer count, and they only give you the amount over 100,000 and over 1 million.
Oh, totally. Yeah, that's where it's tricky. Like Figma, for example, I don't know where I'd bucket Figma because they do a lot of reporting on how many customers spend above 10K or 100K, but they also have a pretty big self-serve motion at the lower end of the market. And so like I would maybe think that they're deer hunting, but maybe they're larger than that actually.
So what did the data tell you, Kyle?
So we looked at ChartMogul data, which it had 1,043 of their customers.
All right, so you look at over 1,000 companies. Are we assuming then that they were making at least some amount of MRR to start off here?
All the companies in the data set were doing at least 10K MRR at least 3 years ago. And so I categorized based on what was their average revenue per account at 10K MRR. And that way I could kind of see like, where are they now? Like what happened later? And the typical company in the data set, so like I said, they were doing 10K MRR at least 3 years ago. They're around 2 to 3 million ARR now on average. So much larger companies, like 20x growth on average, but a lot of variation across companies. The elephant hunters are getting customers to spend 100,000 a year or like roughly 10,000 a month. You're really looking at like one customer. We like did not have a lot of companies that fell into this bucket based on the data set, because if you sold a deal that was larger than like 10K MRR, like we wouldn't have history of what you were at 10K MRR. So the data mostly focused on companies that started out as deer, rabbits, or mice.
And I like that this isn't just like a static look, because in my experience, companies want to graduate from one band to the next or from one animal to the next. They want to morph their way up the chart.
I think for a lot of early stage startups, you sell to the early adopters. Like there was a viral thread on, I think it was Reddit, that was like the best path to building a startup is get to 10K MRR with 100 customers to pay you $100 a month. Like that is the ticket to 10K MRR. And the data shows that is like the conventional path. Watching on YouTube, you can see the charts yourself here. What the data shows is that 53% of companies in the data set were rabbit hunters. So they charged about $100 a month and got 100 customers. The next most common route was mice hunters. And so that's charging about $10 a month or 100 per year and getting 1,000 customers. Some deer hunters in the mix, it was about 12% of companies, and then only 1% of companies in the data set started out as elephant hunters.
My mind instantly goes to, well, how has their sales force changed and how much they're deploying to acquire a customer changed?
In these early days, to your point, like companies are generally very founder led. So the founders probably closing most deals themselves. They're like asking their friends, asking their friends' friends,
The CAC is their time and their network.
and they're not optimizing for scale. They're optimizing for like feedback at this point. So it totally makes sense that rabbit hunting is a popular route that doesn't feel too expensive to ask someone in your network to try your pretty new product. But then, right, the goal over time is you build a much better product, you figure out your best customers, you raise prices, right? The conventional wisdom is like, yeah, maybe start off rabbit hunting, but then go up market over time. When I looked to set up my first CRM at Growth Unhinged, I knew I wanted something that was actually AI first. The world has evolved. Most CRMs are still stuck in the 90s. I found Lightfield, the CRM that remembers everything and does the work for you. It joins all my sales calls, reads my emails, and has the full context on every account. At this point, Lightfield knows my deals better than I do. I haven't had to set up a single CRM dashboard. Instead, I simply ask Lightfield questions like, which deals in my pipeline are most likely to close, or who do I need to follow up with today? It even automatically prepares me for meetings with a personalized daily briefing, and setup was quick and surprisingly painless. Lightfield is my sales coach, RevOps analyst, therapist, EA, all in one. See Lightfield for yourself with a 14-day free trial. Connecting data from your inbox takes just 5 minutes, and you can migrate in under an hour. Go to lightfield.app, that's LIGHTFIELD.app, and use code MOSTLYGROWTH to get 3 months free.